What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm your host, Alex Van Aken, and today I am joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
I'm doing great. Getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah, we have, 2 days till we're off for the break?
Wait, I haven't done any shopping yet.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
See, I'm the bad kid. I'm the bad child. I never bring gifts home when I come home. I'm like, I bought a $1,000 flight to come home. My gift is, my present is my presence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you get gifts?
Yeah.
I was going to say.
But I'm always the one who has to travel. Okay? And I'll give like my brothers like game codes and I give like the kids stuff because they all like games and we usually have like extra codes lying around. I'm like, here's,
You're the cool uncle.
Yeah, but for my brothers. I don't have any nephews yet.
Right.
Or nieces. They could, or I don't have any. My brothers have not had Spawn yet, you know?
Right. It's a race.
They're just, yeah, exactly. Well, one of them's like 15, so I hope not. But yeah, everybody's looking at us, be like, when's the next generation gonna come? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm realizing this is a podcast about video games, and I shouldn't be talking about this, Marcus.
Your bloodline.
But welcome to the show. Also joined by Charles Hart. Hello, Charles.
Hello. I'm really tired because I stayed up too late playing Vampire Survivors on the Steam Deck.
Oh, nice.
That'll do it.
I got it 3 days ago on Steam Deck, and it has ruined my sleep schedule.
Yeah. I think last week was the first time I tried it. And yeah, it's got its hooks in me, I think.
Yeah. Have you dreamt about it yet?
No, I haven't.
Yes.
Thank God.
Oh,
Charles has.
It wasn't a good dream. Like when you're playing it, it's a nice, fun, happy time, but something about the dream was very stressful of like, I just got to get enough power-ups to survive.
Whenever I cook with garlic, though, I do, have flashbacks.
If I die in a dream, I die in real life.
Yeah, love that.
I did used to have an apartment infested with bats, and if cooking with garlic...
I had a house infested with bats.
Yo, bat
Let's
gang.
go. Kindred spirits.
You know what's wild is that I had a condo, and it's like house, condo, apartment. Like we're totally in line.
Oh.
Like I in my bedroom, I had bats in my roof in our
Hell
condo. Yeah, look at us, Batmen.
Mine
I
were in
remember
the
hearing
walls.
my mom scream one time because she opened the closet door and a bat flew out at her, and that's how we realized we had a bat infestation.
That's traumatic.
I have a lot of bats in my areas. I see them every night when I'm on my walk.
when you're, I don't know where I was going with that.
They
but-
fly dangerously close to my head, and I'm always afraid they're just gonna
yeah.
I know what they're doing, but I feel like I'm gonna get like a stupid bat that just flies right at me.
That's fair. Yeah, I feel like a lot of bats are smart though, so they'll probably. I feel like they're like a species known for their intellect, right?
Are
I mean,
they?
Batman's really smart.
I was
so
like,
it
you're
makes
just
sense.
conflating
Yeah,
it with
right,
Bruce
yeah.
Wayne.
Like they literally have a detective representing them. So yeah. Rounding us out this week, special guest, editor of this very show, Matt Storm, aka DJ Stormageddon. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back. I'm excited to be back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And thanks for keeping the lights on for me all these weeks.
Do you have
Happy
a
to
bat
do it.
story?
Yeah, do you have a bat story?
I mean, I never had a home with a bat, but I guess in the evolution, I, as a kid, lived near a public park in the cul-de-sac I lived in, and that park had an infestation of bats. And if
There
you went
you go,
out, you went out at night, they'd sometimes like dive at you, like Marcus was saying, and it's really scary.
Home is where the heart is.
Yeah,
You know?
they fly erratically enough where you never know where they're gonna end up.
Could come at you at any time.
Yeah, I love bats very much. So today we're going to be talking about our most anticipated games of 2023. We've each brought 5 entries with us. We did coordinate, so there isn't any overlap, so we don't have to
Is this like a potluck?
Did some of my picks? Yeah, I guess it is
A
like a
video
potluck.
game potluck. We all were like, hey, make sure you don't bring sweet potatoes. I'm bringing the sweet potatoes.
Yeah, and if 2 people bring sweet potato casserole, it's like, ooh,
But now
which one's better? You have to duke it out.
Yeah.
It's like that with video games, I guess. But before we get into the show, I did want to do some housekeeping. I know the show's format has been kind of a little all over the place lately because it's just been like games, and it's like, okay, we have to keep this show running and at a, some sort of a appropriate length. So we've kind of been like throwing housekeeping in at the very end. I want to do something a little different this week, throw it in at the beginning, and just say thank you everybody for listening this year. This is not our last episode of the year, but it's the second to last. We're about to all go off for the holidays. Game Informer is. And, we've got a great present here. We've got a 5-star review from Con Man of York over on Apple Podcasts. And they left us a 5-star review saying, amazing. The comedy and time they put into this incredible podcast is impeccable. I would rate it higher, but it won't allow me. 6 out of 5. I would nominate 100%. Thank you, Con Man of York. We appreciate that kind review. Of course, if you go and leave us a podcast review, we will give you a shout out and say thanks. As long as it's a nice one. I've had a couple mean ones lately that I'm not going to read off. I read them, but if they're not constructive, I'm not going to read them off on the show, okay? So if you've got something nice to say, something constructive to say about the show, how we can improve it, how we can make your listening experience better, go and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really does help us out and, helps us within the algorithm as it is. But yeah, again, we are going to be off for the next, undisclosed amount of time. But there will be content up every single day throughout the end of the year over on the website. So we've even got podcasts rolling out. So it'll be like we're still here, even though we're not. I personally will probably be playing World of Warcraft alone. The
addiction
in the bedroom of my in the bedroom of my wife's grandma's house because that's where we're staying. But yeah, you will still get content from us even though we're gone. But we will see in the new year. We just announced our new cover story, and we're going to have that be the first episode of the new year, our cover discussion. But it is Dead Island 2. Wes and I flew out to Nottingham, England, and met with Dambuster Studios. And we got to play Dead Island 2 ourselves for about 7-8 hours, something like that. It was a full day of playing the game, hands-on, and we captured all of that as well. So we've got hours and hours of gameplay. We're going to be breaking out into relevant videos. We've got a lot of cool interviews. We did this really neat. We filmed a recording session of the sound designers, and we watched them bring some sounds to life and kind of showcased them beating the crap out of fruits with like barbecue Wolverine claws. It was a fun time. Of course, we got the rapid fire as well. And we've got a very awesome cover story you can go and read in the magazine and supplemental features on the website. Head over to GameInformer.com/Dead Island 2 to read and see all of that as it comes out. I'll say from the video front end of things, that won't start rolling out until the first week of January. But yeah, you will like what you see, I think. I was pleasantly surprised by what I played. I think I went into it thinking this game has been in development hell for years. It's changed hands 2 times. And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the game was quite fun as somebody who, again, was pretty skeptical. And yeah, I can't wait to talk about it more alongside Wes and to share all of our thoughts on the game. But that's going to do it for housekeeping. Let's dive in to our most anticipated games of 2023. Marcus, we're going to go to you first.
Okay.
So we'll do you, Charles, Matt, me. And we'll each cycle through, go one at a time. But tell me the first entry, I guess, on your list.
So my first entry is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is part 2 of Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is moving beyond Midgar into uncharted territory, especially narratively. Without getting into specifics, if you played Remake and saw the ending, even if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, you know that pretty much all bets are off at this point. The story has diverged to a point now where kind of anything can happen it seems, or at least that's what they're setting up. So I'm super excited for this. I love the remake. I think for me, they did the best possible thing they could do with a remake of like not only being faithful to the original, but changing it up where it just doesn't feel like a retread. Because I'm kind of in the mind of
it justifies its own existence.
Yeah, because I don't mind like a faithful remake, but I as I gotten older, I'm kind of more like, oh, if I wanted that same thing again, I would just go play or watch the thing, So take some chances and do something wacky, and Final Fantasy VII Remake definitely does that. I'm not saying all of it works, but I think most of it works. So yeah, and also just coming off of the Yuffie DLC and sort of the way they expanded the combat, at least with her, I thought was amazing, and I'm excited to get more of that because I would assume she would join the party in Rebirth, and I just want to play as her with the rest of the party there. So yeah, they said it's winter next year, so it sounds like it's going to be pretty late in the year. Hopefully it is still 2023 and doesn't slip to 2024, but for now, between this and FF16, it's a pretty good year to be a Final Fantasy fan, it looks like.
I always when people say Yuffie, I forget that that's a DLC and that it's not the One Piece character, which is what, Yuffie?
No, Luffy.
Sorry. Yeah, see, I get it. I get them confused all the time.
Yeah, fair, similar.
Yeah, I think I'm most curious about if they're going to hit 2023, like you said. Like, I don't know. We'll see. But that is a great first entry, Marcus. Charles, over to you.
Over to me. What was first on my list? Oh, Fire Emblem Engage.
That's a good choice. Yeah.
I guess kind of a late comer to the Fire Emblem. Well, not super late. I started, the first Fire Emblem game I played was Awakening, which I think was a 2012 release. And I've always been surprised by how every game is so different from the last one. Like, I feel like it'd be very easy to, I don't know, Pokemon it, where you just kind of change the story and change the playable characters, and then that's all that happens. And I feel like they've made such like radical variations from game to game. Engage is one where now there's these magic rings you can use to like fuse with the spirits of the ghost of Fire Emblem past, of, they got everyone. They got Marth, they got Lucina, they got Lynn, and just all these characters. And I've honestly been trying to not see too much of it because it's one of those things where I kind of want to go in relatively blind, but yeah, I'm excited for that.
Is the Engage subtitle, I haven't kept like a super close eye on this game, but it might have believed that it's like marital engage, like that's what they're referencing, and that's what the ring stuff, it's like you're marrying spirits.
I couldn't tell you. I don't think you're marrying the spirits. I did make a joke about how like the main character in that game kind of has like Colgate toothpaste hair, so they're like Engage mint rings.
The awful Colgate flavor too.
Yeah. Right.
Who gets the red toothpaste?
Nobody.
It's like the cinnamon one, right?
Oh, yeah.
You go in the trailer. They go engage, like you have to say it to activate the power, which I don't think you necessarily do every time. But they like, I think it's just activating it, I guess.
It sounds like engaging in battle, like that kind of thing.
That's what I thought that the title. I mean, I guess maybe it has a double meaning, but
it could. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one too. Three Houses was my first Fire Emblem ever, and I loved it. But I think I enjoyed it because of all the social link nonsense, like the developing relationships, all the narrative stuff. I like the tactics, but it wasn't my favorite part of it. So I'm curious because I've heard this is more true to like previous Fire Emblems. Like it's more tactical. It still has that stuff, but it's less of it. But I still want to try it because it's a series I wanted to get into for a while. And Three Houses was so approachable. I'm hoping Engage is still approachable, even if it's more tactical.
Yeah, with Three Houses, that's a great example of like, I feel like every entry has been so different where they announced it and I was like, how the heck are they going to do a school mechanic? And then I did it and I'm like, I can never play a non-school Fire Emblem game. But that'll be a thing, I guess.
Awesome. Matt, how about you?
So my fifth pick, they're sort of numbered in like most anticipated, but not really, is Octopath Traveler 2. I loved the first one. I am a sucker. I am a mark for the 2D HD style. Any game in that style. I loved Live Alive this year. It was one of my favorite games of the year. And Octopath Traveler was one of the first ones to really do that style, and I fell in love with it. I didn't love how the stories they crossed over, but like not super well. It was mostly 8 individual stories. I'm hoping in the sequel they're more interlinked, but I loved the combat. I loved the style. The voice acting and the music was great. And so I never expected to I thought it was going to be like a spin-off one and done for Square Enix. The fact that it's becoming a series makes me really excited. And I'm hoping it kind of is like a new Final Fantasy series. Like each game is different. They're not connected to the previous games, but maybe there's some overarching lore or cliches that carry over. Because I think that'll make it more approachable for folks who maybe didn't play the first one also.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. The first one, I felt like definitely. I loved like the scale of the bosses in that game, but I felt like they had some learning pains to get through, and I feel like pretty confident that like Octopath 2 is gonna like really come out swinging, because like despite those learnings, I feel like they had to go through. Like the game is still good. It was like really, really, really solid, and I enjoyed it. And the soundtrack was
unbelievable.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it seems those games have done very well for them, surprisingly. Because Octopath came to Xbox on Game Pass now, but and even hearing like when Triangle Strategy came out, which also uses that same style, hearing that was like a sales success within like the first month, it's like, oh, okay, these games have an audience in a way that maybe some people didn't expect them to have.
Yeah,
I think it's also because so many people have the Switch, and all those Switch users are buying those games in a scale that like other Nintendo consoles maybe not so much.
But now they just need to do Chrono Trigger in that style.
Yeah. Oh my God, please, Marcus, from your
like...
mouth to the gaming god's ears. Favorite game of all time. If I could get that in 2D HD, I'd be all in.
That's rad.
I did want to. We mentioned the soundtrack a few times. My number one Spotify artist in 2020 was the composer of the Octopath Traveler soundtrack, because
that's awesome.
It was the soundtrack to my D&D game, and I didn't know that you could like set your listening party to private. So I was in like the top 1% listeners of Yasunori Nishiki.
Amazing.
So that's my gamer. This is the only kind of podcast I could brag about that on.
He's gonna call you up. He's gonna be like, "Who's this guy that really likes my music?"
Yeah,
he was 90% of my streams last year.
I'm gonna get the obvious one out of the way for myself. Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. My God, I can't wait. Yeah. What's to say? Like, we've talked about this game so many times on the show. I just want it out. I just want to see how we fully explore that world, with the airborne stuff, how there's just so much, like what's going on with Mountain Doom or not Mount Doom. God, wrong game, dude. But no, like I just want to see like how all the changes to the map work, and what's up with Ganon, Ganondorf. Are we playing as like a version of Ganondorf? Like there's so many theories that have kind of been circling this game since its announcement. Yeah, I'm really, really excited to dive into Hyrule again. And that version of Zelda made me like a Zelda fan. I've written about it. I did a video on it actually, about my history with the series, and how I didn't have access to a lot of the games. And Breath of the Wild really hit me at a time, at the perfect time, and made me an actual fan of the series and kind of sent me down the rabbit hole. So yeah, I cannot wait for Tears. I'm trying not to say Breath of the Wild too. For Tears of the Kingdom. That Breath of the Wild, I probably play it once a year for like a significant amount of time, and yeah, love that game. Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them finally be maybe the first developer to truly iterate on that formula, because there's been games that have come out that have been inspired by it, but they've all been inspired by Breath of the Wild, So to see Nintendo be like, okay, we've had years of like not only reflecting on our stuff, but maybe looking at what everyone else has done, maybe Elden Ring perhaps, and saying like, all right, this is the next big step in this sort of like style.
Yeah.
I want
over 6. Can you believe it'll be over 6 years?
I know.
That's wild. I wonder, every time Zelda's had a direct sequel, think like Link to the Past to Link Between Worlds on the 3DS, think Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, there's always been like a wacky mechanic or something wildly different from the game it's based on, like when they do those kind of stylistic direct sequels. And so I'm like, Traveling to the Sky is something, but we've had that in other games. There's going to be a twist we're not seeing until the game is out, and that's what I'm really excited for, to see like what kind of creative they pull out for this. I'll bleep that later.
Awesome. Well, that's my pick. So Marcus, we will go over to you for number 2.
All right, number 2, and these aren't ranked for me, by the way, if people are wondering. But it's the first one on my list that's gonna come out maybe for anything else that we say is Atomic Heart.
Yeah,
which comes out late February.
I'm so curious about that game, man.
Yeah, and it's another game we've talked about on the GI show a bunch of times, right? Like, I think Alex, you and I are kind of in lockstep of saying, like, this game feels like it's either going to be amazing or just a colossal letdown. And there's like, it feels like as we get closer to it and the more they show it, there's no in between, which is like concerning, because it's like, it should be fine that if it just comes out that it's just okay, but there's something about the promise of this game where like being just okay doesn't feel like it's gonna be enough. Like, we want this to be like almost like a BioShock level of like, this is like change the game for like narrative first person shooters, you know. And I think a lot of it's because it's clearly got some BioShock-ish DNA in there. But you know, that most recent trailer of the Game Awards looked great. And yeah, this is one of those games where like I never need to see it again. I just need to play it. Like, I'm sold. I've been beyond sold in this game for like 2 years or however long it's been around now. And yeah, it's exciting to think that it's like 2 months away. And I'm like crossing my fingers that it doesn't get delayed. I mean, if it needs to be delayed, then delay it. But like, I want to play this game. It looks so wild.
Yeah. I can't wait. Right there with you. Charles, what's your next one?
Next one. Oh, this is one I'm kind of hesitant about, but I wanted to add it because I do think I am excited. Is Forspoken, which I think is a January release.
Yeah.
Yes. I played the demo, and I was into it. I think a lot of the reception I got was people weren't into it. They didn't really like the dialogue. There was definitely some like lighting issue in the demo, but there's something about it. I can't really put it into words. It just scratches this like 13-year-old YA itch in my brain of like, I just, as I'm playing it, I'm like, oh, you know, 13-year-old Charles would have thought this is the coolest, best game in the whole world. And I don't know, I really like how the magic looks. When I was kind of traversing the world, I had like a fun time with that. That's also a big thing for me is, we'll talk about a different game that will have my favorite traversal ever. But when there's an open world, I want it to be fun to like actively move around it. Like, I don't have any issue with horses, but like, I feel like a lot of the time it's like you just get on the horse, you ride from point A to point B, and that's fine and that's cool. But like something like this where you can like, you know, vault over stuff, or like Assassin's Creed parkour, or even like Mario Odyssey and all like the wacky jumps you can do there is a big deal for me. So I'm hoping this comes out and a lot of people's reservations of it are, you know, relieved when it comes out, and maybe it's actually really good.
I hope. I don't think any of us want bad games to release.
Yeah, that's one I'm probably the most nervous about.
Same.
Although I'll say, like, even if a game is bad, you know, there can be value in it. And I think about this a lot, actually. Like, I'm working on like my own game dev projects and just like learning. And I've told myself, like, okay, if I release something, then that's something to be proud of. And my game could get like panned if people even reviewed it. Like, is it even worth reviewing, right? If it did and I got panned, I'd still be like satisfied with myself for like putting out, like, publishing a project.
Yeah,
because it's like, you know, following through. And so anyways, the little tangent about mediocre games, I guess, like I personally would still be proud as somebody to put out a mediocre game. I feel like it's a miracle that you can publish a game
Yeah,
at all.
especially one of that scope. Yeah. I hope that game's good. I've played it at Tokyo Game Show. I downloaded the demo that came out and played a bit of it, but not much, because it was pretty much the same demo that I played in Japan. So I was like, okay, it still feels the same, which is concerning, because I was like, I'm still not totally sold on the feel of that game. But I think the traversal is pretty fun. There's just something about the I don't know. It still feels a little messy. Like
I
the
totally
combat.
get it.
Yeah, and some of the traversal stuff. So I'm hoping that gets tightened up, and that the PS5 demo they put out was maybe just that demo, and it's been fixed since whenever Tokyo Game Show was, October.
Yeah.
So yeah, fingers crossed.
Awesome. Matt, how about you?
My next one was briefly mentioned earlier, but I am very excited for Final Fantasy 16. The Final Fantasy series and I have an interesting relationship. I like a lot of it, but I haven't finished a lot of it. At the beginning of 2022 on my video game podcast, I stated that I was going to play more and finish more. That amounted to me finally finishing Final Fantasy 9, which has become my favorite. I really loved it. And finishing the base game and the post patch for Final Fantasy 14. And then starting the first expansion, which I loved. I just don't have enough hours in the day to play an MMO Final Fantasy. And then I restarted 13 again and like dabbled with some other stuff. I want to go back to 15. But they're such dense games. But I feel like Final Fantasy 7 is one of my favorite games of all time. I love Chrono Trigger. Like, I'm an RPG person. Something with Final Fantasy. I've not played a lot of the classic ones. But there's something about 16 that feels A, approachable, but B, just more interesting than anything that's come before. And I don't think it's because other things did something wrong. I think there's just something in the genetic material of this new game. Well, A, it's going to be first party PS5 and it's going to look incredible. And like graphically 15 and even 13 look really great for their generation of consoles. And so they're always at the forefront for that. But also the music's going to be great. It always is. And there's something about this mechanic they're showing where like the heroes fuse with summons that I think is really cool. Like they transform into them or something. It's unclear how the mechanics really work, but like I'm really excited for that too because I love the summons. They're some of my favorite things in the games, but they're often you just kind of call them in. You know, in 10, I think it was you like Yuna rode on them, but you sort of like battled as them, but you didn't have like free, like the idea of like the free open combat, like in Final Fantasy 7 Remake, like being able to do that as one of the summons, that seems really cool to me, like Ifrit or Odin. So yeah, I'm really stoked for it. I'm hoping it's great. I don't know if I'll finish it because those games tend to be really long, but I'm definitely excited for it.
You play Final Fantasy 6, Matt?
So I haven't finished it though. I'll make this brief, but so Steam allows you to share libraries with friends and family, right? You can join a family and then access each other's games as long as they're not playing it. My friend Mike, who I've known for a very long time, buys games obsessively. So at one point he gave me access to his library to start playing some of those games, and that was one of the first I played. I got all the way up until the point where, I guess spoilers for Final Fantasy VI, Kefka ends the world, and I was like, oh, I'm really in it now. And then I lost access to the game, and we couldn't fix it, and the save disappeared. And I didn't want to start over. So, but now that they've announced that the pixel remasters are finally coming to console, I'll probably pick up the pack for the Switch and play and finally replay it there. But I loved what I played of 6. I just never finished it.
Okay, I asked because one of the things that stood out to me about 16, why I'm excited, because 6 is my favorite Final Fantasy, and the monster summoning stuff, or the turning into summons in 16, and I was like, oh, that's just an evolution of what you did in 6, because Terra, like, that is her thing, is that she
transforms.
Esper. Yeah, so I was like,
which what all the summons are.
So it's like, oh, are all the 6 Final Fantasy games is just that you just get to do to just turn into the summons? But I thought that was like a cool little like, oh, they're evolving that system, that's awesome. And I didn't know if that was like part of your excitement for 16 based on how you felt about
I hadn't
6.
even thought of that, but yeah, totally, because I loved how the summons worked in 6. It's one of my favorites besides 7 and 9.
It's like in Digimon when they finally, what was it, like season 2 or 3, or was it a spinoff where they turned into the Digimon themselves?
Yeah,
because I remember I had the little like, it was essentially like a Tamagotchi for
the
Digimon.
Digivice.
And you would walk around, and that was from the season where they transformed it into them.
I think it was Digimon Frontiers, which was like season 4.
Okay, yeah,
that
sounds right. I am also excited for FF16. As somebody who, we've talked about it. I'm not a Final Fantasy guy, but that last trailer, really did something inside of me. I don't know what happened, but something was stirred. Something was awakened. My next game is Mina the Hollower.
Hell yeah. Hey, Alex, wait, didn't you do a documentary about that?
I did, and you can go to youtube.com/Game Informer to watch it. After seeing a lot of the behind the scenes of that game, before that it was already like pretty high on my list, but just like seeing how the sausage is made gave me a greater appreciation for that project, and I really can't wait to see like some of the things I saw come to fruition in the full game. So, and I just love like top-down Zelda style games, and I've played Mina. I had to play the demo so many times throughout the editing of the documentary. I don't know if it was ever a public demo, but back when it first was announced, press got a copy of the demo that was like shown off at G4 for the Kickstarter announcement. Did that ever go public for other people?
So they had it because I interviewed Celia actually from Yacht Club, who rules,
awesome.
For my pod when I covered PAX West, and they had it at PAX West. They had a demo.
Okay.
I don't know if it was the same one, but they had a version of the demo available to the public at PAX West.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I had to replay that a bunch while making it, because I'd be like, oh, I need footage for what they're saying here. Okay. So yeah, I'm excited to play the full release. Hopefully, I have no idea when it's coming out, but I hope it's like early 2023 because I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go.
I'm a Shovel Knight super fan, so like I'm in on Mina.
Yeah.
Like I loved all of the iterations of Shovel Knight, and I love Yacht Club. So like they announced that game, and I was like, sure, I'll play it. Whatever, doesn't matter what it is.
Marcus, what's your third entry?
Let's see. My third entry is Metal Slug Tactics.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love Metal Slug.
Yeah,
Me too. And I love that they
underrated.
gave... Right? It's because... when was the last like proper Metal Slug? It's been...
Oh,
A while
'Cause they've done,
mostly
like-
been
I actually
re-releases.
don't know what Metal Slug is. If you could explain it to me, Marcus.
So they're basically side-scrolling like shoot 'em ups, where usually like military themed. They were in arcades a lot in the 90s. And yeah, it's just got this very cute sort of like pixel art style, and
highly detailed pixel art style.
it's like really goofy, over the top Rambo is maybe the best way to describe it.
Really awesome animations.
Yeah, some of the best pixel art of the time.
I think it was kind of like the what do they call it now? Like the hi-fi pixel art or whatever, like Owlboy. What's that style called?
Yeah,
Where it's
I know what you're. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I forget the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah, it's kind of like references like hi-fi. That was like the hi-fi pixel art of that era was Metal Slug.
Yeah, did you ever play Charles Mercenary Kings, like an early PS4 indie game back in the day?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that game was very Metal Slug inspired, so I was like, maybe that might be a frame of reference. But Tactics does the wild thing of taking a series that is known for just run and gun action and translating it into a turn-based tactics game, and that sounds like that should be a disaster, but it looks amazing. I mean, I'm a turn-based strategy fan too, and there's something about like that style just working. Like it reminds me of Gears Tactics, where at the time you're like, huh, I never thought that these two things would, marry as well as they did, but wound up being like peanut butter and jelly. Just perfect fit. And I think Metal Slug fits that too. Like the art looks fantastic. Seeing the goofy animations on a grid of like just the explosions and guys bug-eyed getting blown up and stuff.
Wasn't that originally supposed to come out this month?
Was it this? It was this year. I don't know if it was this month, but it did get
maybe
pushed.
I'm thinking the other tactical Advance Wars reboot game.
Oh, that was supposed to come out in April.
Oh yeah,
that had
one
a
of
date
them
and everything.
One of them was I don't know. I remember December being in my brain for some reason.
Yeah, but yeah, it did get pushed out of this year. This is actually Dotemu putting this out. Who,
nice.
Oh, cool.
Quality.
Recently put out TMNT Shredder's Revenge, Streets of Rage 4. So retro style games are definitely up their alley. So that makes it more exciting. But yeah, the trailers, like the soundtrack, just the animation, and I just want to chill out on my Switch, just on the couch and just run through this. This looks so fun. I'm so excited to see how they marry those two ideas.
Yeah, that's rad. I can't wait to. Charles, what's your next one?
My next entry is Assassin's Creed Mirage. This is the next Assassin's Creed game. I think there was an Assassin's Creed Showcase is where we saw the first trailer at, but it's advertised as kind of a return to form to like the more like classic Assassin's Creed formula, and I don't know the main character's name. So I'm kind of a lapsed Assassin's Creed fan. The last game I beat was Syndicate, and then Assassin's Creed Origins I liked, but I didn't make it all the way through. I did not play Odyssey, and I did not play Valhalla. Not because I thought they were bad games, just because I think I have a specific type of game that I like, and the more I learned about those, I was like, I don't really have 100 hours of a game in me right now.
Yeah.
And this one is advertised. It's going to be shorter. It's going to be more of like the stealth classic assassin action that the older games had, and I'm just excited to kind of revisit that because that was one of my favorite series. I think the first M-rated game my mom let me have was Assassin's Creed 3, which is one of my favorites because it was the first one I played, but is not one of the best.
No, not at all.
Did you convince her that it's technically an educational game?
That was not removed. That was definitely a present thing in my convincing of her to get that game. It was actually a thing of like on Christmas Day. It was like the thing I wanted, and I didn't get it. And at one point I heard someone say Assassin's Creed 3, and I turned around and my aunt had gotten the game from my uncle. Like that was her present. And then later I ended up getting it around then, but I had to talk my mom into it because I don't think she knew what it was. But yes, Assassin's Creed Mirage. I'm excited. I think it's also a prequel. It explains the backstory of one of the characters in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so there's that connection too.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, I fell off that series after I tried to play 3, and like you said, it was not great. And I loved the original run, though. The Ezio trilogy is some of my favorite games ever. But then I just, after 3, I was like, no thanks. And then I tried for Origins. Everyone was raving about it. I came back. I got it on sale. It was too big. There was too much to do. And I was like, I'm good. Check, please. I'll pass. And I kept hearing good things about Odyssey and Valhalla, but I think I'm intimidated by games that big now, like because I've got limited time, and they feel to be padded. But if Mirage is actually like as tighter as they say it is, it might be worth jumping back.
Yeah, I'm excited for it because I've beaten almost every mainline Assassin's Creed.
Wow.
So I'm a fan. Assassin's Creed 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I adore that game. And I have not finished Valhalla. That came out at a rough time where that came out in the midst of so many other big games like Yakuza, Cyberpunk, a few other things. And I remember starting it just trying for work really, and then having to put it down. So I was like, I can't play this with everything else. And I was a little burned down the series because I had finished Odyssey earlier that year, and that game is it feels like it never ends. It's fun, but it's a lot. So I haven't touched it, and I've been getting the itch again of like it's been enough time that I haven't played Assassin's Creed. Maybe I should go back and finish Valhalla since this next one has a tie to it. And maybe because this one is going back to sort of the old style, I won't feel fatigued about like, oh, I just finished Valhalla and now there's this, because they're like, oh, this is going back to the style that I have nothing against the big sort of like witchery style of Assassin's Creed games that came out in recent years, but I am itching to go back to the pre-Origins era, and I want to see them do that while also applying the lessons maybe of the modern stuff, So
yeah, rad.
Cool setting too, Baghdad. Excited to see them.
I've been trying to figure out. I've been trying to remember where that is supposed to be set. Baghdad. Okay, cool. Matt, what is your next pick?
So my next one is it involves the most recent thing I've been playing, which is a replay of Control on the PS5, which, let me tell you, is one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. But Control got me into Alan Wake, which leads to what I'm excited for next year, which is the sequel, Alan Wake 2. I had played Alan Wake for the first time after Control a couple years ago, and because they were connected, I just became obsessed with the stories. I'm also I like Stephen King, and I like those kinds of stories and thrillers and stuff, and the fact that the sequel is going to be more survival horror is interesting. I'm a coward. I feel like we've discussed this before, as we all share a little bit of that. But I think through the lens of Alan, because Alan Wake 1 was also pretty scary at times, but I'm really excited for the sequel because I want to see them delve more into the psychological, especially since it's been confirmed that what happened in Alan Wake is connected to all of the lore and Control. It just makes this bigger picture that I think is really exciting. And as an X-Files fan who grew up watching those kinds of thriller shows, I'm really all in for this. And the less I know about it, the better. I want to go in completely as surprised as possible.
Did you play that Alan Wake expansion for Control?
I did. It wasn't until much later. It's funny. I played Control, then I played Alan Wake on stream, and then I went back for the DLC. And I loved it. It was great. It kind of closed up some loops in Alan Wake, and also directly connected Alan to Jesse, and like they sort of meet, and so it's just it just ramps up all of the nonsense that people love about those games.
Yeah, I need to finish it. Like I should, because I was wondering if there's anything there that maybe points to what Alan Wake 2 is going to be.
A little bit. I think it's mostly just kind of tying up Alan Wake a little bit, and of course leaving more questions. That's kind of the nature of Control, but I highly recommend it. All the DLC in that game is really great, and like the kind of game that I love side missions in, because all of them have wacky lore about these random objects and other things.
It's so good.
It's just so fascinating. Yeah, so I'm really stoked for that. I really hope it's good. I mean, Remedy rarely misses, also, especially lately. So I'm optimistic, but definitely excited regardless.
Awesome. My next one is Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. That is the I think Team Reptile is making it. It's the game that is heavily inspired from Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future. They've got Hideteki Naganuma coming back, who's the original composer of Jet Set. And yeah, it looks like Jet Set Radio. And that's pretty much all I got to say. I used to love Jet Set. Jet Set Radio Future was like my first entry when I think it come paired with Project Gotham Racing or something.
It was like a dual pack on the Xbox.
Yeah. So I was playing that and Fusion Frenzy, but man, I had no idea, like, you know, I'm a kid, right? I was a teenager. Like I didn't really understand the themes of, you know, those kind of games. And I think those themes have been like kind of doubled down on in Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. So it seems kind of like, you know, facing off against the authorities and yeah, kind of just like protecting your home turf and looking out for your community, and all the while like skating and grinding and doing tricks. And have they confirmed if there's going to be tagging in this game? I'm not sure. That was like a huge component for listeners who don't know. A huge component of the first of Jet Set Radio. Different series. I was going to say the first game. Totally different series, totally different makers. But like graffiti and tagging and that sort of angle was largely present in Jet Set. So I can't wait. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk.
That's such a good name.
It is.
Such a great
Bomb
name.
Rush Cyberfunk. Like,
Yeah, I love it. Marcus, what's your fourth pick?
Hyper Light Breaker,
Oh, this is going to be on my list.
Yeah.
which is the it's not really sequel to Hyper Light Drifter, like loosely connected, I guess.
In the same universe.
Yeah, in the same universe and a very different style of game. Whereas this is a like multiplayer 3D action game as opposed to like a top-down Zelda thing that Hyper Light Drifter was. But I'm a fan of Heart Machine. I loved Hyper Light Drifter. I loved Solar Ash.
Oh, Solar Ash. Oh, that game ruined me when I played it. I missed it last year, and then at the end of the year, one Jesse Vitelli, who's been on the show a bunch, shout out to Jesse, kept raving about it. And I was like, fine, I'll try it. And like the whole ending of that game is just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It's just so brilliant, and made me a huge fan of Heart Machine. So I'm excited for this one too.
Man, maybe I need to play Solar Ash over the break.
I wrote a feature basically saying that Solar Ash is the best 3D Sonic game ever made. Like it's literally the template of what Sega should be doing if they want to do high-speed 3D platformers. So Heart Machine 2-0 for me. I'm psyched about this. I think the art direction looks fantastic in Hyper Light Breaker. Not a ton of details out there about it. He hasn't, like, you know, Alex Preston had that big sort of like coming out party for the game, but has been quiet about it. It's supposed to go into early access next year. I don't know if it'll go 1.0 next year or not. Knowing Alex, we probably won't know until like the month it comes out. He keeps things pretty close to the vest.
I'm curious, being partnered with Gearbox Publishing now, how that may change it.
That's right.
Not, because Heart Machine now is partnered with Gearbox. It's still so weird to say that Gearbox is publishing other studios' games. It's just interesting to me. But I'm curious if that'll affect like the lead up to it or not.
Yeah. Hopefully it just means that, you know, just more money, more resources,
you
know, more polished product. Not that their previous games haven't been polished. But yeah, I think this is one of the biggest, or maybe like one of the most intriguing games of the year of like this. But it also feels like it's being slept on a little bit.
It does feel that way. I feel like Heart Machine in general, their releases have an air of being slept on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like even Hyper Light Drifter, I felt like I know a lot of people who still who play indie games who still haven't played that game.
I'm one of them. I still haven't played it. Yeah.
I
Oh
just
my God.
bought it and I
I
haven't
know.
played it.
I
but-
know. It's just
yeah.
it's my next Steam Deck game. I already have it
Okay,
installed.
okay.
So maybe during the break.
such a great soundtrack, Hyper Light Drifter. I think for Solar Ash, because that came out in December last year, so like it was like at the tail end of like everyone's doing their Goaty stuff, and we had to like even for us, I had to like write an editor pick to get it in the magazine. I was like, no, this is really good. We got to acknowledge this. So yeah, hopefully maybe this will come out at a, I don't know if it's good, a better time of year where it's not overshadowed by something, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Awesome. Cool. Charles, what's your fourth pick?
My fourth pick is a little game called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I am a huge Rocksteady fan. I love the Arkham games, and I think it's been like 7 years since, but Batman Arkham Knight, I guess it'll have been 8 years because Arkham Knight came out in 2015.
Yeah, it's wild to think it's been
Jeez.
that
Oh my
long.
God.
Yeah. I just really, really like those games. And to be honest, like the pitch for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, like a co-op shooter, isn't something I'm particularly interested in, but I like Rocksteady and the Suicide Squad enough that I think that'll be enough to like get me really into it. And then we just got that trailer at the Game Awards. It says Kevin Conroy recorded his performance for Batman before he passed away, which is like cool that'll still be in there because he was, Rocksteady's Batman. And yeah, this is just a game where I feel like, I don't know, there's been maybe 4 or 5 trailers for it, and every time I just like want to see more. I want to play this game. You could make dangling a carrot on a stick, but for me, just Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and I'll chase it forever.
Do you guys have the same? Like, I was already excited for this game because I love, like I said, Rocksteady, and I like comics in general. But like something about Gotham Knights not doing it all the way has like increased my hunger for this game.
Yes.
Like, whereas before I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm excited, but I can wait for it. We got Gotham Knights. It'll hold me over. And now that like, because I've not really played a ton of it. Yeah, now I'm just like, okay, this really needs to be good now.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
because they were announced like on at the same time, I think,
Yeah.
like around the same time. And the first Gotham Knights trailer seemed like it was going to be like, that was the Arkham thing. And now this is the departure. And then this was more of a departure than I think originally I thought it would be.
Yeah, Suicide Squad was announced first, too.
Was
if I
it?
remember correctly? Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm emotionally ready to hear Kevin Conroy's final performance. Like, that guy is my Batman. And like,
Oh yeah.
he, like, that cartoon is the reason I like Batman. Like, I liked the comics as a kid, but like, that cartoon really set me on the path to being a really big comic book nerd and Batman fan. And like, you're going to be killing him in that game too, which is like
Yeah.
something to think about a little. But I'm stoked. I want to kill things as King Shark. Like, I love that character now. He's been in so many different great adaptations, and so I'm hooked. And you, like you said, Charles, like Rocksteady doesn't miss. Even their less good games are still great games. So
Yeah. I've said it on the show before, but like that premise lives or dies on like if you actually killed a Justice League. Like, I'm really hoping they don't like chicken out of that.
Yeah.
but that was before I found out that Kevin Conroy would be Batman. You're
Yeah.
like, oh dang it. So, but what if he slips away? Maybe.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But-
Yeah. Who's next? Matt?
yes, my fourth pick is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I was trying to remember how the order of events
Yeah,
went.
yeah, the order of operations.
Came out of a video game name generator.
Yeah.
So I bought Jedi Fallen Order when it came out because I'm a Star Wars nerd, and like I devour all Star Wars. I don't complain. I'm not like, oh, this isn't my Star Wars. I like all of it.
Are you a real fan if you don't complain?
Right? I know. Like, I loved Boba Fett. Everyone else hated that show. I thought it was the best thing ever. I also really love Boba Fett. I bought him day one in Fortnite. Alex remembers. We
Yeah.
played together. Like,
Yeah, we did.
but yeah, so when the trailer for this came out, I immediately installed it the PS5 version because I hadn't played the upgrade yet and replayed the entire game. Like, I'm so hyped for this. I actually like Cal Kestis as a character. I think, yeah, he was a little cookie cutter in the first one, but there's some real opportunity to make him much more filled out in this new story. Also, BD1 is one of the best droids ever introduced into the Star Wars canon. Fight me. I will die by that. But it just looks really cool. And like, they made a big deal. The developers were like, this is a different game. Like, the last one was kind of a Dark Souls-like action-adventure game. This one is going to be more about survival. And I'm curious what that means, right? Because the Dark Souls games are also often about survival in the most brutal of ways. And so I'm curious how they're pivoting, if at all, with the gameplay to make it a little more intense. But I think it looks really cool. And like I said, I'm a sucker for good Star Wars stuff, so I'm ready to dive in.
Maybe this time you have a degrading lightsaber and you have to keep replacing it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like it just flickers off during
You have
the
to
fight.
keep
And he's like, damn
polishing
it.
That would be so stressful.
Keep replacing the kyber crystals.
Wasn't there a game like a PS3 or PS4 game where you had to like shake the controller to get the batteries and the flashlight?
No More Heroes was like a lightsaber game where you had to like shake the lightsaber to reignite it.
I was thinking of like it's like it's dark, it's hard to see, and you have to shake the controller to like rattle the flashlight. I can't remember what it is. That's what I'm thinking of.
Did Luigi's
here,
Mansion
like,
3 do that?
Oh, maybe. I played it. I play everything handheld mode, so I never have to deal with motion control.
I know what you're talking about. Oh man,
it might
wasn't it like a PS4 game, like with the. I'm trying not to confuse it with Infamous Second Son, where you had to shake it for the spray can, but it was something like that same sensation. Yeah. Oh, this is gonna bother me now. Why did you bring this upon us?
Well, if that's what the lightsaber is like, you have to stop mid combat, like hide around a corner, like come on, buddy, work. Yeah, that'd be
Hit
so
an active
stressful.
reload.
Put more crystals in, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matt, on the note of just, Star Wars fans, I feel like there's often the thing of like, okay, we got it, enough lightsabers. I want to see the rest of Star Wars. And I'm like, nah, man, give me more lightsabers. The last game really sated my hunger for lightsabers and colors and types of lightsabers.
Yeah,
So if this game is anything like that, I'm all in.
I hope they add more colors.
Me too.
Yes.
More colors.
I want a black lightsaber.
Give me dual tone. I want it to go from orange to blue,
Oh, what if it could
cool.
like change colors? Like it just was on a setting where it just goes from
RGB.
red to green.
I was gonna say the last. If you 100% the game, you get an RGB slider for your lightsaber.
Yeah.
Why
That's
not?
awesome.
Did real quick, I meant to go rewatch the trailer because I saw someone say that it looks like you got the cross, like Kylo Ren's cross hilt as an attachment.
Yeah, one of the kinds you can get is the cross hilt. Yeah,
that's wild.
That is wild.
I'll
like,
use
these
any
games
kind
are-
of lightsaber.
These games are ostensibly canon,
Yes,
and I
they
thought
are.
that in the fiction, the reason his Kylo Ren had that was that it was like so intense that those are actually exhaust ports that just happen to be functional. So it's like,
I mean, they never say that he's the only one who has it. They just say that's why he has it. So who knows? Also, it's Star Wars. They can make it up as they go along, I
hey, he found Cal's blueprint for it, and he's like, oh,
That seems like a
make
good
this.
idea.
My last pick, not my last pick, my second to last pick, I'm sorry, is Redfall. I am as everybody knows, I love arcane games. This is a bit of a departure, which I said about Deathloop, and it turned out being my game of the year. So this seems like the most mainstream style of game that they've worked on in a while. It's like a 4-person shooter, co-op shooter. And, you are going through Redfall, Massachusetts, right? And, taking out vampires that have like taken over this city, and, everybody's got their loadouts and their special abilities. I've said it many times. I think this is going to have the least amount of probably immersive sim elements to it. But that's like their style of game. Like, everything is kind of moving on its own clock, and you can kind of poke and prod to see what happens. That's like their signature style. So I'm curious how you do that in like a multiplayer, like 4-person multiplayer environment, or if it's more so just like standard, like, okay, we're running and gunning, right?
So I feel like they've kind of haven't they been pretty adamant about like, no, this is still pretty immersive semi.
They have, yeah.
I'm curious how that's going to work multiplayer. And like, also though, I love a hero shooter. as Alex can attest to, and like having a character that has their own personality and abilities in an arcane game, like all those are always great. Like I didn't love Deathloop, but the characters in Deathloop were incredible. It was just not my style of game. I was also very bad at it, but like all of the characters were amazing, and that's like the best thing Arcane does is the writing and the characters. And so like I think if that's really good, I'll tolerate whatever else this game throws at me. But it sounds like it's a really interesting concept, and I don't know of any other multiplayer immersive sims, so like that's also kind of exciting to me.
I'm excited that I think the last time they really brought this game out, they sort of reiterated that yes, it's multiplayer, but this is also like you can play this entirely single player, and that it's not like this is an open world immersive sim game that you can play with other people, but you don't have to.
Right.
You know, as antisocial as that sounds, I like that they kind of emphasize like you can still treat this as like a single player arcane game if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And I might do that. We'll see.
Like I definitely want to play with other people to see, like you said, Matt, how those systems work with like multiple players. Whether or not I'll stick with that, I guess it depends on how fun that winds up being.
I'm interested now that we're talking about it, realizing like I wonder what the level of overlap between this and Suicide Squad would be, like gameplay wise, because it's both 4-player co-op shooter, different characters with different abilities. I don't think Suicide Squad's gonna be a sim, but I think these games are coming out. Redfall's like first half of 2023, Suicide Squad's like May. So I'm slightly curious of, I don't know, like if it's gonna be weird to play
Both
one before the other,
Yeah.
or just the comparisons that'll come from that.
Hopefully one of them is weird enough that they're distinct.
Yeah.
Like I think of the games coming out next year, those two have a good likelihood of being weird.
For sure.
I mean, one of them has a talking shark.
That's true.
That's true.
And then there's also Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Marcus, what is your last pick?
It's kind of in line with you, Alex, with another Microsoft Game Studios exclusive, but it's sold Starfield.
Yeah.
The game that was supposed to come out 2 days after my birthday this year, and then Bethesda said, "Nah, we'll just ruin that for you. We'll push it next year." Yeah, you know, it's weird because I feel like I know I've said previously that I want to play this, but I'm still like cautiously optimistic. And that still stands in the sense that, like, at least what we've seen so far, it's like, okay, this is a Bethesda game, but in space, which is what I expected. But also, I really hope it's not just that. I hope they do something really big and fresh, you know, and not just have the same general thing that they've done. As much as I love those games, like I love Elder Scrolls, I love Fallout, I will always be down for like the next big Bethesda thing, which is why I'm excited for this. But I think the potential of like, okay, they're going to do something wild here, right? Like I know we've seen like the sort of No Man's Sky looking stuff, which, you know, isn't new, but you're like, all right, maybe they'll do a fun twist with that, or maybe the wildest stuff in this game they haven't showed us yet, right? Because this game's going to be like the forever video games with all the like bajillion planets that they have in the game and stuff of like, well, I guess we're just never going to stop playing this game, it sounds like.
That's what's given me anxiety is like, I love open world games, but like I said, like I prefer tighter, shorter experiences because I just don't have time. And like the idea of something bigger than Elder Scrolls Skyrim just sets off my anxiety. I'm like, how will I ever do all of this?
It's like, is Skyrim like one planet in this game?
Right.
Is that right? Multiple Skyrims that you could travel to.
Skyrim sounds more like a space game than a fantasy game.
That's true.
Is it the sky?
It does, yeah.
In it, the word
Good
sky?
alternate name for the
Sky
the
and
Halo
Rim,
ring.
you know, it reminds me of like Saturn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Skyrim.
There's no rule saying dragons can't be in space.
that's true.
Whoa, that's true.
You make a good point, Marcus.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Um,
Space Dragon?
I think what... No, go ahead,
Doesn't
Charles.
sound realistic to me.
ever heard of this thing called the Ender Dragon, Alex?
Oh my god, I have.
Yeah, so maybe think before you speak next
Yeah,
time.
you just
Wow.
mind me.
Oh man.
Laying down a law.
I think this is an interesting thing because Bethesda did Fallout 4 and then Fallout 76, and then it's going to be this. And I feel like they at least when Fallout 4 came out, kind of had the crown of one of the best game developers, at least from my understanding of like they made a lot of these like legendary games. And not to say that they have lost the crown, but I feel like they kind of have to justify so long of a gap. And I feel like this game has a lot to live up to, and I hope it does live up to that. But I think it puts them in kind of an awkward position where there's a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, no, even before, like obviously Fallout 76, famous disaster at launch, but even before that, Fallout 4 was liked, but the general vibe was like, this is fine. Like it didn't feel like the next Skyrim, you know? And I feel like it's been like pretty much since Skyrim where they had that like industry changing video game. And this, I think some of the excitement is that maybe this will be that for them. Again, we'll see. But yeah, it's like, it's hard not to be at the very least just extremely curious about what this turns out being. And it's wild to think that this is going to be a Game Pass game at launch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing that gets me through is like, I may not have to pay $1 for this because I'm paying other dollars, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just infinite Skyrims just right there to download. You know what I hope they do if I was on that team is that they should have a planet that it's literally just Skyrim.
Yeah.
Like you land there and it's just like you're just in Skyrim and you just play that whole, if you could play the whole game.
That'd be amazing.
I love it. Charles, what's your last one?
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I want to play Spider-Man 2. I want it so bad. Insomniac Spider-Man was the reason I bought a PlayStation 4. I like was so excited for this first Spider-Man. I had like dreams about web swinging leading up to it.
That's the best dream ever.
It is. It was a great dream. Another like Assassin's Creed 3-esque example of when I was a kid, the Spider-Man game I played a lot was Spider-Man Web of Shadows, which is not a good video game. But you can swing around as Spider-Man on the Wii, and that was enough for good.
You played the Wii version. That's even worse.
Oh, yeah.
That was enough for my personal suffering.
Well, you could swing, but you guys don't understand because you swing it and then he swings, and I was 9.
How many times did you throw the Wiimote?
I'm not a particularly aggressive Wii player.
Okay.
So I never did. At least I don't
the
think
wrist
so.
strap.
I'm a wrist strap type. Like something to know about me as a person is I always put the wrist strap on.
It says a lot about you.
It really does. Anyways, Spider-Man Web of Shadows. One of the best things about it is you can switch between the red suit and the black suit. And now in this one, we saw like in the one teaser, which I've seen probably 36 times, Venom pops up at the very end, and it's like, yo, are we gonna get red suit, black suit action? Miles and Peter are in this game, and my hot take is I liked Miles Morales more than the original game, both of which are like 2 of my favorite games ever. So any fusion of that is just like, I really can't emphasize how much I'm excited for this game. I saved this one for last for good reason.
I still say that first game was one of the best Spider-Man stories ever written. The way they wrote Doc Ock, especially. I'm a diehard Venom fan. I champion those 2 terrible movies to hell and back. They are so much fun. But the fact that we have the Candyman himself doing the voice of Venom is wild. I've been lucky enough to chat with Yuri a couple of times, and I've never met a man more excited to be the voice of Spider-Man than Yuri Lowenthal. And so just the fact that we're getting another one with this incredible cast and this incredible story writing team, it's just going to be bonkers. I mean, a little bit I want to play as Venom, though, too, because like I loved Ultimate Spider-Man on PS2 where you got to run around the city.
Yeah!
That was amazing. And like, I hope we get to, but probably not. He's probably the big bad. But like, yeah, it looks amazing. I can't wait to play that game.
Same. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, so I adore those 2 Insomniac games, and I just want to know the big question is like, do they do multiplayer, or are you going to be switching between Miles and them like at will, or during like story stuff, like I guess in the first Spider-Man game? Like, I just want to know how they juggle those 2 characters, especially because they have different, powers or abilities.
Yeah.
So like, how do they balance the game around that? Because otherwise, like objectively, Miles is better because he can turn invisible and the Venom blast and stuff. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. And they just recently said it was going to be fall.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I can't wait too. I'm very eager to play it. Well, my last pick. No, it's Matt. Right?
Rude.
Matt.
Just
I'm
skipping
sorry,
right over
I'm
me.
sorry. Yeah.
In a hurry.
It's because you said you liked Venom. And
I know. He's like, oh, Venom?
Yeah, you're very enthusiastic about those movies.
I am. No, Alex knows. I talk about it way too much in several group chats. But no, my final pick is the one I'm most excited for next year, and it's on the smaller scale, representing the indies. I know Jill out there somewhere is really excited. But it's Sea of Stars. I am a huge JRPG nerd, and The Messenger is one of the best indie games ever made. And that writing team is great. Like the story was incredible, fourth wall breaking, and like I love the Ninja Gaiden-esque like combat and platforming, and the fact that that same team is doing a JRPG turn-based that is in the same world. Like, it is impossible for me to be more excited for a game than that, except maybe Mina, as we said earlier. But like, Sabotage Studios has become one of my favorite developers, and like I cannot wait for that game. And the more like they keep releasing these snippets of videos of like combat and traversal and characters, and every time I'm just hungry for more. I'm ravenous for it. I love it's like it's going to be the perfect Switch game, right? Like, and that's I've talked about this on the show before. Like, I love handheld gaming, and like if I can just settle in on my couch with the Switch and a good JRPG, like that's golden for me. So yeah, this one I'm really stoked for. Also because it's a new IP. Like, JRPGs often are part of long lineages right now. I said one of my favorite for next year is Octopath Traveler, which is now part of a series. And so I'm excited for a new IP JRPG that's in the indie space, because I think they've done some of the coolest JRPG things, because they're always a little more experimental or a little more different. So yeah, I'm really stoked.
I think the world design is what has really kind of captivated me. Mm-hmm. I'm not a JRPG fan traditionally, but yeah, just like seeing all the screens from that game, the animation, just like these again, like the detail that they've kind of like. The Messenger was very detailed, but like this is on a whole nother scale. Mm-hmm. Like I think they also look like they like, are using bigger, more sprites per tile. I could be wrong, but it looks just like highly detailed. I'm like, I don't know how y'all are getting this game made like this quickly, because like relative to what it was announced like 2 years ago.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, just it looks so pretty. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the writing, because if you remember when The Messenger was coming out, the trailers of like they play it pretty straight, mm-hmm. and then you play that game and you realize like it does not take itself that seriously, and it's pretty goofy. Yeah. And they're doing the same thing with Sea of Stars, which makes me, there's no way there isn't some big, like either tonal shift or just something after coming off of The Messenger, and especially because they're in the same universe. So
yeah,
see what they've got up their sleeves there.
Yeah, awesome. Well, my last one is. It was between this and Diablo, but I went with this because it's been a while since I've played a game from Larian Studios.
Yeah.
But Baldur's Gate 3 is my last pick. I really loved and I picked this also because I know Matt shared on Twitter recently. They had like a party with a couple of people, and it reminded me of like playing Divinity Original Sin 2 in 2017, 2018,
yeah,
something like that,
that,
and how unique of an experience that was playing through. I never finished it, but like I played through the campaign several times, like several different sessions with several different people. And the reason I never finished it was because a friend would be like, "Hey, I kind of want to play Divinity Original Sin." I'd be like, "I'll make a character with you, and we can play." And yeah, I just love seeing your tweets the other day, Matt, like of like each of you had your own story and personality with your characters, and they're all woven together. And it just reminded me of how much I loved Divinity Original Sin 2. I've never played a Baldur's Gate game, so that's also cool. And I'm excited to play a druid. Hopefully, we'll see.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I did the same thing, Alex. The reason it took me this long to finish it is we were doing weekly, like 1.5 to 2 hour sessions. And so you can't get a ton done in Divinity in a couple of hours. Like, you need more time than that. But also, like, I would play with friends every time they wanted to start a new campaign. I'm like, oh, I'll make a character. Let's do it. But yeah, I was excited for Baldur's Gate 3. Now I'm more excited because I finished Divinity and loved it so much. What has me excited, and I'm curious what you think, Alex, like it seems like the Baldur's Gate is going to be more story driven. Like There's story in Divinity, but like this is going to be really zoomed in. You meet the characters, like there are cutscenes. Feels more
the lighting and the character models too look awesome,
incredible. Like I think it's going to be more Mass Effect-y in the fact that like you're going to make choices and like there's going to be a lot of impact on the story in a much bigger personal way for the character. Are you excited about like that kind of more like zoomed in like storytelling?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's like one of the things that I wished I could do in Divinity was kind of get an up. I mean, yeah, you can scroll in, you can like zoom in on your character, but it's different. Like Baldur's Gate, it's like intentionally that way. Like you're getting, the over the shoulder looks in the conversations, and I think it's just a different presentation style. And yeah, again, I haven't played any of those games, and so I'm very curious like what the world is like, and I've seen like some people play like early access stuff, and like the environments looked like really neat. So yeah, I can't wait for Baldur's Gate. Very excited.
That game has the D&D mechanics, right? Or D&D-esque at least.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just the last like 2 years I've become just fully obsessed with Dungeons and Dragons, and knowing now that there's I'm also always the DM, so I'm like facilitating the game, so I don't get to play the characters, and so now a version where I can do some type of character play with mechanics I'm familiar with. I'm very excited.
I know there was in Divinity Original Sin 2, there was a Dungeon Master mode, I believe, where you could make campaigns with the game.
I wish you hadn't told me that, Alex.
Yeah.
I have other things to do.
Yeah.
Now I have to move.
I'm pretty sure it was,
Okay.
they did.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, those are our most anticipated games of 2023. We did have a few people write in to the show with their submissions from the Discord, the official Game Informer official community Discord, which you can get access to by subscribing to us once on twitch.tv/Game Informer. Legend of Gamer asks, my most anticipated is Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for sure. I'm taking off work for that one. A more obscure one would be Theater Rhythm. I really enjoy those games, and the sheer amount of music in the next one is going to keep me busy for a long time. I haven't heard of Theater Rhythm.
It's the Final Fantasy rhythm game.
Okay. Then I know that.
They did one that I think was a port last time, but this I think is a brand new one. I think that's
It's
right.
like the
cool.
first new one in a while.
Yeah, and like Melody Memory, I think was the same team. I want to say.
Oh, the Kingdom Hearts thing?
Yeah, I think so. But like, yeah, it's a Final Fantasy rhythm game, and it's gonna have like every game's soundtrack or something like it. Like, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of songs.
Wow.
You know, I've never taken off work for a game release.
Oh,
Every time I hear that, I always think like, how come I've never done that? I usually just
not as an adult. I've done it as like a college student, like taking off of my day job. But like, I never
When
did as an
Breath
adult.
of the Wild came out, I worked in like a double tier cubicle, so like nobody could look over your thing, and I was in like a row of like these massive cubicles. So the only way somebody would see me playing games on my Switch, specifically Breath of the Wild, was if they walked directly by my desk. And so I probably put like 20 hours into Breath of the Wild at my work. That was the job I got laid off from later that year.
but like we know about your gaming, Van Aken.
Yeah. And yeah, so I don't endorse it unless you can get away with it. And I did. And I loved it. It was so much fun. Again, like 20 hours probably over the course of a month, right? Like I'd play on my breaks, and then maybe my breaks would go a little long,
Okay. We're not your boss, Alex. You don't have to justify
Yeah, it's
that.
okay.
Yeah, but my boss will listen to this.
That's true. Your boss
But I mean,
does listen.
I'm supposed to play games now, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
we
a little
get
more
mad if you don't do
palatable.
it enough.
Yeah, exactly. I got to get my numbers up. So yeah, I don't know if I've taken off. I did as a kid, like I'd skip school for like Halo.
Yeah, I didn't even do that.
I guess like when I worked retail, I took off
Yeah.
for probably like Halo Reach.
Yeah, I think I did that for Mass Effect 2. I was working some retail job, and I took a couple days off and just mainlined that game.
I was in college when Arkham City came out, and the day it came out, we had class, and thankfully I went to game design college because everyone was in the know. And like that morning, our professor just said, "Yeah, I know you guys just want to play Arkham City, so like, you class is dismissed because you guys aren't going to pay attention anyway. Go home and play Arkham City."
That's awesome.
And that is exactly what I did.
That's rad.
I'm young enough that I have a number of times the Switch came out like when I was a junior in high school.
So old.
So
old.
I would play my Switch during study hall, and I remember specifically like Breath of the Wild came out, and we only had one Switch, but me and my brother both went to the same high school, and it was like a trade-off thing of we had to like battle over who would get it for the day. And I actually remember there was one time, I probably shouldn't have been doing this, but I played Bayonetta 1 in my study hall, and it was on the Switch, so it was like fine. But my teacher came up one time and he was like, "What are you playing?" And I was like, "Oh, it's this game called Bayonetta." And he's like, "Oh, I played that game and I hate it." I was like, "Oh, okay." Well,
And now I hate you because you like it,
and you're suspended now. The next question is from Zachary Pliggy. Zachary asks, Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6 are my most anticipated. Give me those new fighters. Yeah, I think Street Fighter 6 is really high for me.
Yeah. Looks good.
Yeah, both of those are high for me. I love both series. I didn't know Pliggy was a fighting game person.
I guess so. I feel like next year is going to be a really great year for fighting games. And like pulling in maybe people who have like been lapsed fans for a while, or, well, I feel like I don't really know many lapsed fighting game fans. Like you're kind of in or you're not. It feels like with that genre.
Maybe casual fans.
Yeah, that's
with
the better
Street Fighter,
way.
I feel like a lot of people really didn't like 5 as much as 4, though. So I feel like lapsed is fair for Street Fighter, at least.
That's, yeah.
I feel like 6 is bringing a lot of people back who kind of jumped ship when they didn't like 5.
I'm one of them because I adore Street
same.
Fighter and I played the crap out of 4. I barely played 5.
Same, yeah.
Well, plug, if you are excited for Street Fighter 6, head over to the YouTube channel. I just uploaded a video. Actually, it's already up by the time you're watching this for sure. We took Nakayama-san, director of Street Fighter 6, and Matsumoto Shuhei, who's the producer of Street Fighter 6, to an arcade. The very arcade that Nakayama-san's first job on the Street Fighter team was delivering an updated hard drive for Ultra Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, or it's just Ultra Street Fighter 4, to that arcade. So we went to that arcade. We played a bunch of Street Fighter. It's like a vlog sort of thing. So go and watch that over on youtube.com/Game Informer. But we have one last write-in from Judonkadonk, who asks, my most anticipated games are actually the PS5 games coming to PC, like Returnal. My question is based on the Game Awards from something I noticed. Do you think trailers for the games do them a disservice? I find the games that string together a bunch of random cut clips, looking at you, Square Enix, dampens my anticipation because it feels very noisy without clear expectations for the game or story. I mean, I think like the trailer, the role for a trailer is to get you intrigued for something. And so if you are given all of the answers, I think I might disagree with you, Judonkadonk. In most cases, I don't want those answers. I like the feeling, like the chaotic feeling a little bit, because the purpose of the movie is to, be orderly, right? And to, tell you a story. And I don't want to go and spoil, but I want to see what, I want to see a glimpse of the movie or the game. So it's like the kind of like rapid fire montages kind of work for me. It's like, okay, I get it. Like there's some action in here. Okay, I'm seeing some of the story. Oh, is that person like mad at that person? Okay, yeah, I think I've got like a general idea. And, the movie itself can like play with my expectations and maybe it'll match my expectations or, subvert them. But yeah, I kind of like trailers like that. What do you all think?
I mean, ultimately trailers are marketing, right? Like no matter what we say, that's their purpose for both movies and video games. But I kind of agree with Alex. Like, I don't want to know the narrative from the trailer. I want to know the gameplay from the trailer, which we don't always get. But like, I want to see something that's going to interest me. I think some of the reason I played Three Houses is because the trailer looked so interesting, and I'd never played a Fire Emblem game, and so I was like, oh, I've got to see this trailer now. I want to play. So yeah, but I can get, like, it's a personal thing, right? Like, I know people who don't watch any movie trailers because they don't want to know anything about the movies they're going to, especially like Marvel movies, and I get that too, right? Like, you want to be completely surprised. I feel like that's harder with games though, because it's a larger investment. You're spending like $20 to $30 to
$70.
$100. Yeah, and it's a lot of money too. Although movies are getting pretty expensive, so like they're catching up. But yeah, I think that I'd want to know what I'm getting into with a video game more so than a movie.
I feel like it's case by case with me. I feel like my standards change depending if it's like an established series or a sequel, to where I, depending on what it is, I want to know more or less. If it's like a sequel, then it's like, okay, I probably know what this is going to be. I'm excited that there's going to be another one, especially if it's one like I really like this series. But usually for new IPs are where I'm a little bit more critical. Like I like the big sort of like 30-second CG thing that basically shows nothing, but like a title is kind of annoying. You're like,
yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, you're like, that's not even like mood setting. It's like it's just like, hey, this is a thing that's happening. You're like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I should be excited. So yeah, less of that would always be nice. I think that like that Transformers trailer at the Game Awards was probably one where it's like, I think we all kind of agree that game maybe did that game a disservice, that trailer.
Yeah.
Especially for something like Transformers, right? It's like, you should probably just show the thing that everybody likes about Transformers, which is them transforming and doing cool stuff. But yeah, by and large, like gameplay, obviously, it doesn't have to be a complete gameplay trailer, but I would always prefer like you just show like a snippet, whatever you can show to give you like some idea of what this really looks like is always appreciated.
Yeah.
But just don't give me those like 30-second, here's the title screen and maybe a close-up shot of an eyeball or something.
Fair.
I think like some of the best trailers are like a good Nintendo first party trailer. Like that Tears of the Kingdom trailer is awesome because you get some gameplay and some just like world setting kind of stuff. My pet peeve is like, everyone's been alluding to this, but like if a trailer is just like a 3-minute cutscene from the game, where it's like, one, I don't have really the level of patience to sit through the cutscene for a game I haven't started yet, especially if it's like not one I have all the context for. And I had another point and I don't remember what it was. I just want to see gameplay, I guess. But I also not too much gameplay. I do think it's really hard with games because you really want a balance. I also think for smaller games, I think it's probably proportional to how big the game is, how much I want to know going in. So for like a great example of this kind of backfiring, the game What Remains of Edith Finch. I don't know anything about it, but I know it's awesome and that it's short. So I have deliberately avoided learning any detail about the game. As a result, I keep putting off playing it because I don't really know anything about it, but I'm like, okay, well, I gotta play, whatever the new hot game is. So hopefully I play the game soon, but I'm glad I don't know anything about it because I do think it still sounds like a good idea to go in blind, but I would never do that with like, a Final Fantasy or like a Xenoblade or something like that, where I at least want to know the premise before committing myself.
That's fair. Well, thank you all for joining me for this episode of the show. I think that's going to do it. That's the end of our questions. Donk, Zachary, Legend of Gamer, thanks for writing in, y'all. Appreciate your perspectives and sharing what you think about games and helping to inform our conversation. If you enjoyed this episode of the show, go and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate it. Follow everybody here on social media. You can follow Marcus at Marcus Stewart 7. You can follow Charles at ChuckDuck365. You can follow Matt at DJ_Stormageddon.
Correct.
And you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Matt, go ahead and plug all your stuff. Where can people go and listen to your podcasts and hear more about you and from you?
Oh, well, thanks. So anywhere, literally anywhere, my podcasts are available on every platform. But the one that I think most worth folks' time who are here is Fun and Games, which is a podcast I do with my incredible co-host Jeff Moonen. We talk about the latest and greatest in gaming. In the first week of January, we'll be doing our Game of the Year talk. We like to wait till the new year and kind of fully reflect. Although we record it in advance, so it hardly matters. But anyway, I think that would be the most fun. And then also I have a video game podcast called Reignite, which as to this point, when you're listening, has been about Mass Effect and a Mass Effect retrospective all the way through Andromeda. However, we just finished Andromeda, so we will be moving on to possibly another Bioware franchise. So if that is interesting, you may want to check that out. And then, but also, if you don't want to remember any of that, just go to djstormageddon.com. Everything's there. My merch, my Ko-fi, my all my podcasts, including a link to this very show that I edit.
Awesome. Well, great. Everybody go and show some support to Matt. And I think that's going to do it for the week. I think that is Game Informer show. What? Episode 635?
Four?
I think so.
Oh, I thought this was 4.
This is 6. Oh yeah, this is 634. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm planning 2 podcasts right now. This is 634 going up this week. See you next time. Bye.